the final for this series. Currently it is 2-2. It's 2-2. And the winner is going to be crowned with this here medal. This is the word association game. We've got 3 seconds between words and we just keep going until somebody loses.
Got it.
Are you ready?
Ready.
Tim, you start. Any word you want to do?
Cabbage.
Patch.
Garden.
Grass.
Tree.
Leaf.
Branch.
Twig.
Stick.
Man.
Woman.
Child.
Boy.
Girl.
Toddler.
Baby.
Nappy.
Poo.
Wing.
Bottom.
Baby white.
That's 2 words.
What? You didn't say we can have 2 words?
Word association game, not the 2 words.
The rules were not clear! The rules were not clear!
1-0. I'm gonna start. Are you ready? Okay. First word is milk. Hot sauce.
That's 2 words again!
Yes! Come on! Welcome to Limitless TV, the 4th and final episode in this series, Overcoming Limitations.
We believe that God has bigger dreams for you than you have for yourself, that God has greater plans for you than you have for yourself, that God has greater possibilities for you than you've imagined for yourself. But we all hit limitations in our lives that have the potential to prevent us from stepping into those future possibilities. And that's why we made this series about overcoming limitations.
So in the first 3 episodes we spoke about overcoming limitations of self-doubt, of fear and labels. And the last one is a big one, Tim.
It is.
We are speaking of the limitation of compromise. So to help us to understand the limitation of compromise, we're going to go on a little bit of a journey together with the people of Israel. Imagine for me, if you can, the people of Israel have been living in slavery in Egypt for 430 years. During that time they've been longing, dreaming, hoping for this place called the Promised Land. A place of freedom, a place of plenty.
Yeah, and then a miracle happens. God calls a man called Moses to lead them out of Egypt. You may know something of the story. God sends terrible plagues on the people of Egypt until Pharaoh finally sets them free. But he soon changes his mind and he chases after them in an attempt to enslave them again. So God does another miracle. He parts the Red Sea to make a way for the people of Israel to escape into the desert.
But in the desert, rather than living in gratitude, they lived in compromise. Sometimes they gathered to worship God, sometimes they created their own idols and worshipped them instead. Sometimes they obeyed God's commands, sometimes they did their own thing.
Yeah.
They went through various stages of grumbling against God and failing to believe in His promises.
Yeah, that's right. First, they didn't believe that God could rescue them from Egypt. Then, they didn't believe that God could lead them into the Promised Land. In the desert, they complained when they were thirsty, they complained when they were hungry, and then when God provided, they complained about what was on the menu.
And there was even this one time when Moses went up to the mountain to spend some time listening to God, seeking after God, and in his absence, they made this kind of golden cow statue thing and began to worship it.
So you see what's happening. They believed in God, but their lives didn't match up to their faith. They were living in compromise. And as it would turn out, their compromise had a consequence.
And this is how the Bible describes the consequence of their compromise. In Numbers 14, we read the following. It says, "In accordance with your great love, forgive the sin of these people, just as you have pardoned them from the time they left Egypt until now." The Lord replied, "I have forgiven them as you ask. Nevertheless, as surely as I live and as surely as the glory of the Lord fills the whole earth, not one of the men who saw my glory and the miraculous signs I performed in Egypt and in the desert, but who disobeyed me and tested me 10 times, not one of them will ever see the land I promised on oath to their forefathers. No one who has ever treated me with contempt will see this land." And then a little bit later on in verse 30 it says, "Not one of you will enter the land I swore with uplifted hands to make your home, except that is Caleb, son of Jephunneh, and Joshua, son of Nun." And because of their compromise, they would not see the fulfillment of all of God's purposes in their lives. Their compromise was the limitation that prevented them from experiencing all that God had planned for them.
Yeah, you see, what we can learn from the people of Israel is this: that you'll never experience 100% of what God has for you, unless God has 100% of you. And so in the story, an entire generation miss out on the plans that God had for them. Why? Because of their compromise. And then they spend 40 years wandering around in the desert, literally waiting for a whole generation to die out until only Caleb and Joshua, who didn't compromise, remain. And it's at this point we rejoin the story.
So picture the scene, Tim.
Okay.
Joshua has been appointed the leader of the people.
Got it.
And standing on the banks of the River Jordan with all the people of Israel, finally ready to cross the river and set foot into the promised land for the first ever time.
Yeah.
Exciting times.
Exciting times.
After hundreds and hundreds of years of waiting, they're about to enter into God's future for them.
Big moment.
And Joshua gathers the people around him. He's prepared for this historic moment. He's getting ready for it.
Yeah.
So what is Joshua going to say to them? What is his big speech going to be in this historic, incredible moment?
No, I'm going to stop you there. Because I reckon I know. I reckon it's going to be a little bit like Mel Gibson in that movie Braveheart.
Okay.
Remember it? Where he stands in front of the army and he goes, "Would you be willing to trade all of your days from that day to this for just one chance to come back here and tell our enemies that they can take our lives, but they'll never take our freedom!"
No.
Okay. No, I'm still on.
You see it?
I can see the president in Independence Day.
Yeah.
Do you remember that movie?
Yeah, great movie.
And he stands up before all of the people there, the pilots and it, and he stands before them and he goes, "We will not go quietly into the night. We will not vanish without a fight. We're going to live on. We're going to survive. Today we celebrate our Independence Day!"
No, not so much.
Okay. Well, what's he going to say then? Because it's got to be something like that. It's a historic moment. They've been dreaming of this day for centuries.
Yeah.
What does Joshua say?
And as much as Joshua was inspired by you, Tim, and inspired by these movies, what Joshua did is he gathered around these people around on the brink of this epic moment.
Yeah.
Everyone waits in eager expectation.
Yeah.
Joshua stands and he says,
"You will take our lives!"
No.
Okay.
He says,
"Today
No.
we celebrate." Okay.
He says, "Consecrate yourself, for tomorrow the Lord will do amazing things among you."
That's it.
Yeah, that was it.
That's a huge letdown. I mean, we should get Mel Gibson up in here to do the speech, you know what I'm saying? I don't even know what it means. What does it mean? Consecrate yourself.
So consecrate yourself, it means purify yourself, make yourself holy, live right before me, give yourself fully to God. Because you see, Joshua knows you cannot step into your future while holding on to your past. He knows that you can't enter all that God has for you while you're living in compromise. He knows that for you to experience 100% of what God has for you, you cannot do that unless God has 100% of you.
So perhaps there are some of you, and you're watching today, and if you're really honest, you've been living just like Israel were. You believe in God, but you've been compromising. You say that you follow him, but you've not been all in. You believe in God, but your life doesn't reflect that. But this compromise is a limitation that will stop you from crossing over into your promised land.
Maybe for you, the cause of compromise is being trapped by that need to fit in.
Yeah.
You care so much about what your friends think about you. You don't want to be marked as different because of what you believe. But guys, girls, why are you trying so hard to fit in when you were born to stand out?
See, we believe that God is calling us to be part of a limitless generation together.
Yeah.
A generation who will exchange compromise for conviction. A generation who won't be lured away or turned back or easily persuaded. A generation who will not be ashamed, who will say, "Yeah, I'm a follower of Jesus and I don't care who knows it because I'm not ashamed of the gospel." Because it's the power of God that brings salvation to all who believe.
Yeah.
So, call me what you want. Because I'm not compromising to please people. I've made my decision. I'm part of a limitless generation and I am going all in.
we truly believe God wants to do amazing things through your life.
Yeah.
So, what do you need to do? Consecrate yourself so that tomorrow the Lord will do amazing things through you.